If you were to tell me 3 years ago that I would get to see John Cena and the American Badass Undertaker under the same roof at NXT, I wouldn't have believed you. Even now, I still don't believe it after everything has happened. There is so much to break down from this past Tuesday, and as we keep barreling towards Halloween Havoc in a couple of weeks. So, let's get into it. A lot of major stars showed up on NXT this past Tuesday, including John Cena, Paul Heyman, The Undertaker, Asuka, Cody Rhodes, and LA Knight. Yeah! To start things off, we're going to talk about Cody Rhodes and the major announcements he made and the matches he made, we'll talk about that in a moment, from this past Tuesday. NXT TV kicked off with the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, who was there to make not one, but 3 announcements. And I feel like these really alter NXT for the future. One of the first announcements that Cody Rhodes has is that the men will be getting their own breakout tournament. Now, we currently have the women's breakout tournament going on right now where we have Lola Vice and Kalani Jordan in the semis. There are a few good men that I know off the top of my head that could do great in this tournament. People like Hank, Tank, Riley Osborne, as well as Oba Femi, who hasn't been seen on NXT TV in a number of months. But, hoping that he hasn't gotten released, he's definitely going to be one of the stronger and tougher opponents in the breakout tournament should he be in it. Now, keeping with the theme of tournaments, you're going to have a Rhodes on NXT and not mention the iconic Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, because that is coming back as well. And there are many good tag teams right now. OTM, Idris and Malik, Metaphors, Noam Dar, and Oro Mensah could compete in that tournament, just to name a few. But not only that, the cherry on top was that Shawn Michaels made him the special guest general manager for that night, making an NXT championship match between Ilya Dragunov and Dominic Mysterio official this past Tuesday, which Ilya Dragunov came out on top and is still the NXT champion. Thank God. But also made a couple matches official for next week. With a pitch from Tony D'Angelo and Stacks, the current NXT Tag Team Champions, they decided, and Cody Rhodes decided, that next week there should be a 10-team over-the-top rope battle royal, where the winning team would face Tony D'Angelo and Stacks for the NXT Tag Team Championships on night 1 of Halloween Havoc. But this battle royal is very interesting, and it's a little bit one of a kind. So you're going to have 10 teams in the ring at the start of the match. If one of the team members gets eliminated, too bad, your whole team is gone. But instead of the bell ringing with one team left in the ring, the bell will ring when there are 2 teams left in the ring, and then after that next bell ring with 2 teams left, they will compete in a standard tag team match, with the winning team facing Tony D'Angelo and Stacks at Halloween Havoc Night 1 for the Tag Team Championships. Another match that was made official, which played into the main event this past Tuesday, was a triple threat match where the winner would face Ilya Dragunov for the NXT Championship in the main event of Halloween Havoc Night 2. It would be Dijak versus Baron Corbin versus the winner of Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker from this past week. Carmelo Hayes was able to win, so it will be Hayes, Dijak, and Corbin next week in a triple threat match, with the winner facing Ilya Dragunov for the NXT Championship at Halloween Havoc. This past Tuesday, just before the bell could ring to get Asuka's match with Roxanne Perez started, Shotzi showed up out of nowhere and just rolled down into ringside in her tank, as usual, and was sitting down on commentary for the match. While on commentary, Shotzi announced that she will be hosting Night 1 of Halloween Havoc. But it's not just going to be Shotzi. Scarlett Bordeaux. If you haven't seen Scarlett Bordeaux, you might want to look her up. She is easily one of the hottest women in WWE right now. And I think, and lately on social media, they have been pulling off great costumes. They're both big fans of Halloween. So I honestly think this could work. Now, Shotzi has hosted Halloween Havoc in years past, having incredible costumes like Beetlejuice, Frankenstein, among many other costumes. I don't know who designs her costumes, but they are absolutely stellar. And I can't wait to see what Shotzi and Scarlett have on tap for Halloween Havoc in a couple weeks. When Cody Rhodes announced that Ilya Dragunov will be defending his NXT title against Dominic Mysterio for this past Tuesday's episode of NXT, he also said that there would be a special guest referee. Now, before he said who it was, I was starting to think that Cody Rhodes would be the special guest referee. Nah. Of all the people that, one, could be the special guest referee, and two, come back to NXT for the first time in months, it was the one, the only megastar, L.A. Knight. Yeah. And actually, Knight, for the most part, called the match right down the middle. His counts for the pinfalls were on point. There were no fast counts. There were no slow counts. And he also made sure that it was one-on-one by helping Ilya Dragunov fend off the rest of the Judgment Day. Now, other people could say that it's wrong for LA Knight to do it, it's wrong for a referee to do that, but I think Knight was doing his job. Knight was doing his job to make sure that it was a straight-up one-on-one match between Dom and Ilya. Counted to 1, 2, 3, and Ilya Dragunov is still our NXT champion. One of the major headlines going into NXT was that the week prior, Carmelo Hayes announced that along with his match with Braun Breaker, he would have the 16-time world champion, the greatest of all time, John Cena, in his corner. That whole night was absolutely unforgettable, but every time John Cena was out in the arena, it was something special. Because I finally got to see him. It was a first time ever appearance for John Cena on NXT. And yeah, just him being there, it was absolutely incredible. Now, during Carmelo Hayes' match with Braun Breaker, who had Paul Heyman in his corner, when it looked like Braun was about to give Carmelo Hayes the same treatment he gave to Von Wagner a little over a month ago, John Cena stepped in Braun Breaker's way to prevent him from crushing Melo's head with the steel stairs, only for John Cena to get attacked by Solo Sikoa. They continued brawling backstage. Eventually, Carmelo Hayes was able to pick up the win over Braun Breaker and move on to next week's Triple Threat. Roxanne Perez had easily the biggest test of her entire career this past Tuesday, facing a woman who is the longest reigning NXT Women's Champion at over 520 days, who is, to this day, still undefeated in NXT. A multi-time Women's Champion, Tag Team Champion, and Money in the Bank winner, the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka. My friends and I going into this, actually when it was announced that Asuka was coming down to NXT, we just kept saying that Roxanne's dead. Asuka is one of the more dangerous strikers in WWE's entire women's division. People like her and Shayna Baszler, Yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the opposite side of the ring from either of those two women. So it looks like Roxanne Perez drew the short stick and had to go one-on-one with Asuka. It wasn't a long match, but it was definitely, like I said before, the biggest test of Roxanne Perez's career. Asuka was able to walk away with the victory by just damn near kicking Roxanne's head off. I thought it would go flying towards the timekeeper's area, to be honest with you. Yeah, Asuka is still undefeated in NXT. After Carmelo Hayes beat Braun Breaker this past Tuesday, Braun Breaker was a little salty and he speared Carmelo Hayes in the center of the ring. He then proceeded to grab a microphone and say that he is the biggest badass in all of WWE. That is where things took a turn for the worst for Braun Breaker, and things just got a whole hell of a lot better for everyone watching around the world and in the Performance Center at the arena. The arena just goes black with the Undertaker gong playing, and my friends and I said this after the show, and I'll make this comparison for you. If Marshawn Lynch can get on the Richter scale, the NXT universe can break the sound barrier. Yes, watching it back on TV, it is insanely loud, but just like John Cena said when he was having a promo in the ring halfway through the show, to be there in person when all of it is going down is something completely different. I honestly surprised myself that I was still able to walk away with my voice still intact for work the next day. But though we heard the gong, it wasn't the dead man that showed up to NXT. While the arena was pitch black, we just kept hearing an engine revving in the background. And then all of a sudden, we hear Kid Rock playing over the speakers, and it is the American badass Undertaker rolling down to the ring on the motorcycle and just getting in the face of Braun Breaker and putting him in his place with the choke slam. He then proceeded to tell Breaker that there's always a bigger, badder, badass waiting around the corner. Now, I don't know if that's a little bit of foreshadowing that it could be badass versus badass down the line. Because if you remember at the Undertaker's Hall of Fame induction ceremony last April, his last words before leaving were never say never. So, it could be a little bit of foreshadowing for a future match between Braun Breaker and The Undertaker. Maybe at WrestleMania in Philly? But other than that, to see The Undertaker in person at NXT, it was an absolutely unforgettable moment that I will remember for years and years. But it's not just seeing The Undertaker in person, because it's also about a couple things that happened on TV that I would like to share with y'all. One of my favorite things about rewatching NXT on Peacock is to hear the commentary, but two, specifically this reason, anytime that I was on TV for a few seconds. Now, this past Tuesday wasn't the first time it happened. In fact, I have many clips of me on TV from pay-per-view and TV episode replays on Peacock. But this past Tuesday feels special because I think I set a new personal record of being on TV 3 times in the same night. each of those moments were during Ilya Dragunov's entrance, LA Knight's entrance, and The Undertaker's entrance. Because that last one, I think, is my best one to date. But let's take a look. At first, Ilya Dragunov.
How egotistical can you be to say that the reason...
Next up, we have L.A. Knight. Finally, this is a moment that I will cherish for a lifetime. This next moment, I was on screen during the entrance of the American Badass, The Undertaker. Absolutely surreal. But, actually, before we get out of here, there is one more thing that I want to talk about with you guys. About a certain Viper. Earlier this week, a report came out that WWE is looking to have Randy Orton back in the ring by Survivor Series. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of fantasy booking right here and predict how this whole situation is going to play out. If you remember the Smackdown, the night before Fastlane, we had a confrontation between the Judgment Day, that being Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio, and the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso, going face to face with John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, and LA Knight. Now, as of right now, that's 5-on-4. But if they book this feud correctly, and they have War Games at Survivor Series this year, one, that would mean a watch party for me and my friends, but more importantly, we could have our first official 5-on-5 War Games match set. Because Team Cena would still need a 5th member. And if they're looking to have Randy Orton back in the ring by Survivor Series, how I'm thinking about it is you have that War Games match made official, where it's the Judgment Day and the Bloodline teaming up in War Games to take on the team of John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, LA Knight, and one mystery member. Now, we either get to the Smackdown the night prior to Survivor Series or the night of Survivor Series, and Randy Orton comes out to team with Cena, Rhodes, Jay, and Knight to take on the Judgment Day and the Bloodline inside of War Games. I think it would make the most sense if it would happen the night prior on Smackdown. That's just how it works to me. But the reports are out there, the rumors are starting to spread, and very soon, the Viper will be back in a WWE ring. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for episode 3. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, share the video, as well as subscribe. And let's just keep this train rolling. I'll see you guys next week.